I'm Morgan Davis, 29 years old, and last Tuesday my tech company hit a $29 million valuation. Tonight, my fiancé Jason Walker and I are celebrating our engagement at Bellini's, the restaurant where he proposed. 3 months until the wedding, and everything seems perfect, until his phone lights up with a text from his mother. Make sure she understands about the agreement before the party tomorrow. When I ask about it, his smile falters just slightly. Something isn't right. I just don't know, it's about to destroy everything. If you're watching this from somewhere cozy, drop your location in the comments below, hit subscribe, and settle in, because this story about love, betrayal, and the power of standing your ground is just getting started. Jason and I met at the annual Seattle Children's Hospital Charity Gala 18 months ago. I hadn't planned to attend, but a last-minute ticket became available when my chief marketing officer couldn't go. I remember standing alone by the champagne fountain, feeling out of place among Seattle's elite in my off-the-rack dress, the best I could afford while still pouring every spare dollar back into my company. "You look like you'd rather be coding," a voice said beside me. I turned to find Jason Walker, tall, with warm brown eyes and a smile that made the room suddenly seem less intimidating. I laughed because he was right. I had left a debugging session to be there. "Is it that obvious?" I asked. "Only to someone who recognizes the look of someone who has better things to do than make small talk with trust fund babies," he replied, and I was immediately charmed. Growing up middle class in Seattle's Ballard neighborhood, I was raised by parents who worked hard, my mother as a high school math teacher, my father as an accountant at a local credit union. They instilled in me the values of education, hard work, and integrity. While we never struggled, luxury was not part of my vocabulary. My college education came through scholarships and student loans, which I was still paying off when I launched SecureShare from my tiny apartment during my final year at UW. SecureShare began as a simple idea, a secure document sharing platform for small businesses that couldn't afford enterprise-level security solutions. I coded the first version myself between classes, fueled by instant ramen and determination. By graduation, I had 3 employees and our first round of angel funding. 5 years later, we had offices in Seattle and Portland, 78 employees, and that $29 million valuation that still seemed surreal. Jason came from a different world entirely. The Walkers were old Seattle money, shipping industry wealth that had diversified into real estate and investment banking over generations. Their Georgian mansion overlooked Lake Washington, and their family name adorned a wing at the Seattle Art Museum. Jason worked at Walker Investment Group, the family firm his great-grandfather had founded, though he often spoke of wanting to break away and start something of his own. Our whirlwind romance progressed quickly. Jason was different from anyone I'd ever dated, cultured, worldly, but with a refreshing directness I found appealing. Within 6 months, we were talking about a future together. At 12 months, he proposed during a surprise dinner at Bellini's, presenting a family heirloom ring that had belonged to his grandmother. Looking back now, I should have seen the warning signs. There was the dinner at his parents' home 2 months into our relationship, where his mother Patricia examined me like a specimen under glass, asking pointed questions about my little business and whether I planned to keep working after settling down. Jason's father, Richard Sr., spent most of the evening talking about family legacy and tradition, barely acknowledging my presence. "They're just old-fashioned," Jason explained later. "They'll warm up to you once they get to know you better." Then there was the time Jason's brother, Richard Jr., who everyone called Richie, drunkenly cornered me at a family Christmas party. "So you're the one who built a company from nothing," he slurred, swirling an expensive scotch. "Must be nice not having family expectations weighing you down. Some of us weren't so lucky." When I told Jason about it later, he brushed it off. "Richie's always been jealous of anyone who makes their own way. Don't take it personally." But the most telling moment came 3 months before the proposal, when I overheard Patricia on the phone while I was looking for the bathroom at their house. "Of course we're concerned, Elizabeth," she was saying to someone. "She's not exactly what we envisioned for Jason. But he seems determined, and you know how strategic he can be. I trust he knows what he's doing." When I mentioned it to Jason, he seemed genuinely distressed. My mother has always had certain expectations. It doesn't matter what she thinks. I love you, Morgan. You're exactly what I want. And I believed him. That's the thing about love, it makes you willfully blind. In the weeks leading up to the engagement party, Jason grew increasingly distracted. He took calls in other rooms, was constantly texting, and had mysterious meetings he couldn't tell me about. When I asked if everything was okay with his work, he assured me it was just family business related to our upcoming wedding. The night before the engagement party, we were having dinner at Bellini's when his phone lit up with that text from his mother: "Make sure she understands about the agreement before the party tomorrow." "What agreement is your mom talking about?" I asked, trying to keep my tone light. Jason's hand tightened around his wine glass. "Just some family paperwork. Nothing to worry about tonight." He quickly changed the subject, asking about SecureShare's new client acquisition numbers. Later that night, as he slept beside me in my downtown condo, I lay awake staring at the ceiling, a knot of unease forming in my stomach. I'd built my company on instinct and data, trusting my gut when the numbers weren't clear. Right now, my gut was sending warning signals I couldn't ignore much longer. The next morning, Jason was up early, taking a call on my balcony while I pretended to sleep. Through the glass door, I could see his expression, serious, focused, almost calculating, an expression I'd never seen during our time together. "Yes, Mother," he was saying. "I'll talk to her today. She's smart, she'll understand it's just how things are done in families like ours." As I watched him, backlit by the Seattle skyline I'd worked so hard to earn my place in, I couldn't shake the feeling that the man I thought I knew was becoming a stranger before my eyes. The Walker family estate sprawled across 3 waterfront acres on Mercer Island, its manicured gardens and century-old oak trees creating an atmosphere of timeless wealth. As Jason and I drove through the wrought iron gates for our engagement party, I felt that familiar flutter of inadequacy that often surfaced around his family. "You look beautiful," Jason said, squeezing my hand. I'd splurged on a designer dress for the occasion, midnight blue silk that cost more than my first month's rent after college. "Everyone's going to love you." The grand foyer was already filled with Seattle's elite when we arrived: tech executives, old money families, even a state senator. Patricia Walker glided toward us, elegant in tailored cream silk, air-kissing my cheeks without actually making contact. "Morgan, darling. That dress is quite modern." Her smile didn't reach her eyes. "Jason, your father wants a word before the toast." In his study. Jason kissed my temple. "I'll be right back." Mingle, these people are here for us. But they weren't there for us. They were there for the Walkers, a dynasty welcoming an outsider with polite skepticism. I accepted a champagne flute from a passing server and moved toward the floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Lake Washington, needing a moment of space. "It's quite a view, isn't it?" A silver-haired man in an impeccable suit appeared beside me. "Theodore Blackwell. I handle the Walker family's legal affairs." "Morgan Davis," I replied, shaking his offered hand. "The fiancé." "Yes, I know exactly who you are, Ms. Davis. Your work at SecureShare is impressive. $29 million valuation in 5 years, remarkable for someone so young." Something about his tone made me uneasy. "Thank you. We've been fortunate." "Indeed." His eyes assessed me coolly. "I expect we'll be seeing more of each other soon. Certain matters to discuss before the wedding." Before I could ask what he meant, he was called away by another guest. Throughout the evening, I noticed him watching me, cataloging my interactions like an anthropologist studying a new species. An hour into the party, I excused myself to find the restroom, taking a wrong turn down a hallway lined with Walker family portraits. Voices drifted from a partially open door: Jason and his parents. I knew I should walk away, but something made me hesitate. "She's not signing anything tonight, Mother." Jason's voice sounded strained. "This is our engagement party." The agreement protects both of you, Richard Sr. responded firmly. Family assets must be secured. It's how we preserved wealth for generations. What about her business? Patricia asked. Blackwell says the intellectual property alone. I'll handle it, Jason interrupted. Morgan trusts me. I know exactly how to approach this. I backed away silently, heart pounding. When I returned to the party, Jason was searching for me, looking relieved when our eyes met across the room. There you are, he said, slipping an arm around my waist. Everything okay? I overheard you talking with your parents, I said quietly. About some agreement I'm supposed to sign? Something about family assets? Jason's expression shifted microscopically before settling into reassurance. It's just a standard prenup, Morgan. Everyone in my family signs one. It's not personal, it's about generations of family wealth. Why am I just hearing about this now? At our engagement party? I was going to discuss it with you tomorrow. Properly. With no pressure. He took my hands in his. It's just paperwork. It doesn't change anything between us. The rest of the evening passed in a blur of forced smiles and small talk. On the drive home, I was quieter than usual, processing what I'd heard. Are you upset about the prenup? Jason finally asked as we crossed the floating bridge back to Seattle. I'm upset you didn't mention it until I caught you discussing it behind my back, I replied. What else haven't you told me? Nothing. Morgan, this is standard for families like mine. It doesn't mean I don't trust you or love you. What exactly would this agreement entail? Jason hesitated. Basic protection of family assets. Properties, investments, heirlooms. Blackwell will walk us through everything. Something still felt off, but I wanted to believe him. I have no interest in your family money, Jason. You know that. I know. He looked relieved. And this doesn't change our future together. I promise. The next day, I met my best friend Amber for coffee. A corporate attorney herself, she listened carefully as I recounted the previous night's events. I don't like it, she said finally. Not the prenup, those are normal. But the secrecy, the timing, the way his family is handling it. And this lawyer watching you all night? Creepy. Maybe I'm overreacting, I suggested, wanting to be convinced. Morgan, you built a multi-million-dollar company by trusting your instincts. What are they telling you now? That evening, when Jason came over, I confronted him directly. I need to know exactly what's in this agreement before I consider signing anything. His expression hardened. Don't you trust me? This isn't about trust. It's about transparency. We're supposed to be partners. You're making this into something it's not, he snapped, then immediately softened. I'm sorry. It's just, my family has certain expectations. They're important to me. And what about my expectations? My company? My future? What followed was our first major fight, heated words about trust, family, and priorities that left us both emotionally raw. Eventually, Jason broke down, tears in his eyes. I'm caught in the middle, he confessed. Between the family I was born into and the family I want to build with you. Please believe me, I love you for who you are, not for your money or your company. I'd marry you if you were flat broke tomorrow. His vulnerability melted my defenses. We reconciled, promising better communication moving forward. Jason assured me we would review any legal documents together, with my own lawyer present. 2 days later, a courier delivered a thick envelope to my office. Inside was a prenuptial agreement drafted by Theodore Blackwell, along with a note on Walker family stationery. Please review and sign at your earliest convenience. As I flipped through the legal jargon, my blood ran cold. This wasn't a standard prenup. It contained clauses about intellectual property rights, company ownership transfers in the event of divorce, and restrictions on business decisions during the marriage. If I signed this, I would essentially be handing control of SecureShare to the Walker family if our marriage failed. I immediately called Jason, but it went to voicemail. 10 minutes later, he texted, "In meetings all day. Did you get the paperwork?" Nothing to worry about, standard stuff. But there was everything to worry about. And deep down, I knew this was just the beginning. "This is predatory, Morgan." Stephanie Chen, my corporate attorney, removed her glasses and rubbed the bridge of her nose. We were sitting in her downtown office, the prenuptial agreement spread across her desk. "These clauses about your company aren't just unusual, they're aggressive." "How so?" I asked, though the knot in my stomach told me I already knew. "This section here," she pointed to paragraph 12.3, stipulates that in the event of divorce, any intellectual property developed during your marriage becomes jointly owned. Given that your company's value is primarily in its proprietary software and security protocols, they could take half of everything SecureShare creates while Jason and I are married, I finished. Exactly. And this clause about family investment oversight, it would essentially give Walker Investment Group veto power over any major business decisions while you're married. I stared out her office window at the Seattle skyline, feeling sick. They're not protecting their assets from me. They're trying to gain control of mine. That would be my assessment, Stephanie said carefully. Have you discussed this with Jason? He keeps saying it's standard for families like his. That I'm overreacting. This is not standard, Morgan. Not even for old money families. She gathered the papers into a neat stack. I'll draft a response outlining our concerns, but my professional advice? Don't sign anything resembling this document. That evening, I waited for Jason in my condo, the unsigned agreement on the coffee table between us when he arrived. His eyes flickered to it immediately. "Stephanie says I shouldn't sign this," I said without preamble. "Your lawyer works for you." Of course she'd say that. His tone was dismissive in a way I'd never heard before. "Did you even read what's in here, Jason? This would give your family control over my company. It's just protective language. Standard boilerplate stuff." "Don't lie to me." My voice shook slightly. "This goes far beyond protecting your family assets. This is about gaining control of mine." Something shifted in his expression, the warmth I was accustomed to replaced by something calculating and cold. "The Walkers have built wealth for generations by recognizing opportunities. Your company is promising but needs experienced oversight to reach its full potential." Experienced oversight? My company has grown 300% year over year without any help from your family. And imagine what it could do with the right connections. He sat beside me, taking my hands in his. "Morgan, this benefits both of us. The Walker name opens doors. Our resources could take SecureShare international." I pulled my hands away. "You're talking like a business partner, not a fiancé. In my world, they're the same thing. Marriage is an alliance." "Not to me, it isn't." I stood up, needing physical distance. "I thought you loved me for me." "I do love you," he insisted, but it sounded rehearsed. "I'm trying to build something together. By taking what I've already built." The conversation deteriorated from there. For every concern I raised, Jason had a practiced response that somehow twisted my objections into evidence that I didn't trust or love him enough. By the time he left, we were at an impasse, me refusing to sign, him insisting I was being difficult and emotional. 3 days later, I found myself at the Walker mansion for a family dinner I'd tried unsuccessfully to avoid. Patricia had insisted, saying we needed to clear the air as a family. Dinner was excruciating. Patricia made pointed comments about new money and how proper families understand the importance of protecting legacy. Richard Sr. lectured about family traditions and expectations. Jason remained mostly silent, occasionally shooting me apologetic glances that felt increasingly hollow. "Morgan," Patricia said as dessert was served, "surely you understand our position. The Walkers have maintained wealth for 5 generations by being prudent." "I understand wanting to protect what you've built," I replied carefully. "What I don't understand is why your protection seems to involve taking control of what I built." Such dramatics, she sighed. No one is taking anything. We're merely ensuring proper management. Of my company? Which none of you have any experience in. The principles of sound business are universal, Richard Sr. interjected. Our family has extensive experience in wealth preservation. Secure share isn't about preserving wealth. It's about innovation. Creating something new. And you've done admirably for someone with your background, Patricia said with false warmth. But now you're joining a family with centuries of financial wisdom. As coffee was poured, Richie, who had been unusually quiet, knocked back his fourth scotch of the evening. Just sign the damn papers, Morgan. It's not like you have a choice if you want to marry into this family. Richard Jr. Patricia hissed. What? We're all thinking it. He turned to me with alcohol-loosened candor. You know why this matters so much? The family's broke. That's enough. Richard Sr. slammed his hand on the table. Not broke, Richie continued, ignoring his father. Just, illiquid. Bad investments. Market downturns. The Walker fortune isn't what it used to be. But $29 million in tech valuation? That could solve a lot of problems. Jason grabbed his brother's arm. Shut up, Richie. You're drunk. Am I saying anything that isn't true? Richie challenged, shrugging off Jason's grip. I looked at Jason, searching his face for denial. Finding none, I stood up. I think I should go. Morgan, wait, Jason followed me to the foyer. Richie's drunk. He's exaggerating. Is he? Because suddenly a lot of things make sense. I grabbed my coat. The aggressive prenup. Your family's sudden interest in my little business. Was any of this real, Jason? Or was I just an acquisition target? Of course it was real. Is real. He ran a hand through his hair. Look, yes, the family has some liquidity issues. But that doesn't change how I feel about you. I need time to think, I said, walking toward the door. Don't follow me. The next morning, I went to my office early, needing the comfort of familiar surroundings. I pulled up our secure company database, searching for any unusual access patterns. What I found sent ice through my veins. Someone had been accessing sensitive company documents using Jason's guest credentials, product roadmaps, client lists, financial projections. The access points traced back to Walker Investment Group's IP addresses. While I was still processing this, my CFO knocked on my door. Morgan, I just got off the phone with Vanguard Ventures. They seem to think we were exploring investment options? We're not, I said slowly. Why would they think that? According to them, someone representing Secure Share reached out to discuss potential capital infusion in exchange for equity. They mentioned the Walker family specifically. The pieces were falling into place with sickening clarity. I spent the rest of the day discovering that Jason and his family had been approaching venture capital firms, positioning themselves as stakeholders in my company, testing the waters for potential buyout options. That evening, I went to Jason's apartment unannounced. He seemed surprised but not alarmed to see me, until I laid printouts of my findings on his kitchen counter. Want to explain why your family is shopping my company to venture capital firms without my knowledge? I asked. His expression didn't even flicker. No shame. No embarrassment. Just a calm recalculation. I was exploring options that could benefit us both. Without telling me? Using access credentials I gave you because I trusted you? I was going to present you with fully formed opportunities, not half-baked ideas. Stop lying. I shouted, my composure finally breaking. Your family is trying to take my company, and you've been helping them. Jason's facade cracked slightly. You don't understand the pressure I'm under. The Walker name means something in this city. And apparently it's worth more to you than I am. That's not fair. I do care about you, Morgan. That wasn't fake. But it wasn't the reason you pursued me, was it? His silence was answer enough. When did you know? I asked quietly. When did you identify me as a target? Jason sank into a chair, suddenly looking tired. The charity gala wasn't a coincidence. We'd been looking at promising tech startups. Your name came up. I was supposed to approach you, assess the situation. So our entire relationship was a business strategy. It started that way, he admitted. But I did develop real feelings for you. Before I could respond, the door opened. Patricia Walker stepped in, not bothering to hide her surprise at seeing me. Morgan. I wasn't expecting you. She recovered quickly, setting down her designer handbag. I see Jason has updated you on the situation. The situation where your family orchestrated our entire relationship to get access to my company? Yes, he's filled me in. Patricia's smile was cold. Don't be melodramatic. This is business. Jason may have developed genuine affection for you, but surely you understand that marriages at our level are strategic alliances. Our level? I echoed in disbelief. You should be grateful, she continued. The Walker name would legitimize your little startup. Open doors you couldn't imagine. My little startup is worth more than your family's remaining assets, from what I gather. Patricia's eyes narrowed. Jason, I need to speak with you privately. Anything you have to say, you can say in front of me, I insisted. Fine. Her mask of civility dropped completely. The wedding is in 8 weeks. Either she signs the agreement or there is no wedding. The family is unanimous on this. And if I walk away? I challenged. Then you'll regret making an enemy of this family, she replied simply. Seattle is smaller than you think. As if the evening couldn't get worse, Jason's phone chimed with a text. It was on the counter between us, screen visible. A message from someone named Alexis, missing you tonight. Can't wait to see you tomorrow. I recognized the name, Jason's ex-girlfriend from before we met. When I looked up at him, the guilt on his face confirmed everything. How long? I asked. Morgan, it's not. How long? He looked away. We never really ended things. The final piece of betrayal slotted into place. I picked up the prenuptial agreement from his counter, ripped it in half, and walked out without another word. I checked into the Fairmont Olympic Hotel in a daze, unable to face returning to my condo where Jason's presence lingered in every corner. As the ornate elevator carried me to my room, I felt hollowed out, as if someone had scooped away my insides, leaving only a shell that looked like Morgan Davis. Once alone, I sank to the floor, still wearing my coat, and finally let the tears come. Not delicate, cinematic tears, but ugly, racking sobs that left me gasping. I cried for the relationship I thought I had, for the future I'd planned, and most of all, for my own blindness. How had I, someone who prided herself on seeing through problems to solutions, been so utterly deceived? Sleep eventually claimed me, still on the floor, and I woke at dawn with swollen eyes and a clarity that comes only after complete emotional collapse. I ordered room service, took a scalding shower, and began to methodically review the past 18 months of my life like a case study in corporate espionage. The charity gala, not a chance meeting but a calculated approach. The whirlwind romance, designed to sweep me off my feet before I could think critically. Jason's interest in my work, not supportive but information gathering. Every memory recontextualized into something sinister. My phone had been buzzing consistently with texts and calls from Jason, which I ignored. But when my mother's name appeared on the screen, I answered immediately. Morgan? Honey, what's going on? Jason called us. The sound of her voice, familiar, concerned, genuine, nearly broke me again. Mom, I've made a terrible mistake. I told her everything, the words tumbling out in a jumbled chronology of deception and betrayal. She and my father listened in stunned silence. Oh, Morgan, my mother finally said. I'm so sorry. We never trusted him, my father added in the background. Too polished. why didn't you say something? I asked. Would you have listened? My mother's gentleness held no accusation. You were in love. You needed to see it for yourself. What do I do now? They've been accessing company information. Making plans behind my back. You do what you've always done. My father's voice came through clearer as he apparently took the phone. You face it head on. You're Morgan Davis. You built something from nothing once. You can protect it now. Their unwavering confidence steadied me. After promising to keep them updated, I called Amber, who arrived at my hotel room 30 minutes later with legal pads, coffee, and fierce loyalty. I'd been saying he was too perfect since day one, she reminded me, setting up what she called crisis headquarters on the hotel desk. Now let's figure out how to destroy him. I don't want revenge, I said. I just want to protect what I built. Protecting what you've built might require some strategic destruction, she pointed out. These people declared war on you, Morgan. It's okay to fight back. We spent the day outlining what we knew and planning next steps. By evening, I felt strong enough to call an emergency meeting with my executive team. They deserved to know what was happening. The next morning, 7 of us gathered in a private conference room at the hotel, my CFO Lisa, CTO Raj, CMO David, COO Trisha, plus Amber and Stephanie. Thank you all for coming on such short notice, I began, forcing steadiness into my voice. I've asked you here because SecureShare is facing a situation I never anticipated. I laid out the facts without emotion, presenting evidence of the data access, the unauthorized outreach to venture capital firms, and the Walker family's financial motivations. When I finished, the room was silent. To be clear, Lisa finally said, your fiancé and his family have been attempting a hostile takeover of our company? Yes. While pretending to love you? Trisha added, her expression thunderous. Also yes. Raj, usually the quietest of the group, leaned forward. I can have all their access credentials revoked within the hour. And I'll run a full security audit to make sure they haven't planted anything in our systems. I've already drafted cease and desist letters regarding the unauthorized investment discussions, Stephanie added. We should also consider filing for a temporary restraining order to prevent them from approaching our clients or partners. Their immediate support and practical solutions were exactly what I needed. For the first time since discovering the betrayal, I felt like I could breathe again. There's something else you should all know, I said. The engagement is off. The wedding is cancelled. But the Walkers won't go quietly. They've implied threats to our reputation if I don't cooperate. Let them try, David, my marketing chief, scoffed. We have the facts on our side. We spent the next 3 hours developing a comprehensive strategy to protect the company. When everyone departed with clear action items, I felt the weight on my shoulders lighten fractionally. Returning to my room, I found myself facing the inevitable task I'd been avoiding. I needed to access my laptop at the condo. Taking a deep breath, I ordered a car and prepared to face the space I'd shared with Jason. The condo was empty when I arrived, sunlight streaming through the floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Elliott Bay. Everything looked exactly as I'd left it, yet everything had changed. I moved quickly, gathering my laptop and essential documents, trying not to look at the photographs of Jason and me that still dotted the shelves. As I was leaving, my phone rang with an unknown number. Morgan Davis, I answered. Ms. Davis, this is Theodore Blackwell. The Walker family lawyer's voice was smooth as polished marble. I hope I'm catching you at a convenient time. What do you want, Mr. Blackwell? I understand there's been some confusion regarding the prenuptial agreement. The Walker family would like to arrange a meeting to clear things up. There's no confusion. I'm not signing anything. In fact, I'm not marrying Jason at all. A brief pause. I see. That's unfortunate. The Walkers consider you a valuable potential addition to their family. You mean they consider my company a valuable addition to their portfolio? Business and family have always been intertwined for the Walkers. Perhaps a compromise? Tell your clients that any further communication should go through my attorney, Stephanie Chin. And remind them that unauthorized sharing of SecureShare's confidential information constitutes corporate espionage. I hung up before he could respond, hands shaking with adrenaline. Back at the hotel, I discovered 3 voicemails from Jason, each more desperate than the last. In the final one, his voice cracked with what sounded like genuine emotion. "Morgan, please call me back. What we had was real, at least it became real for me. My family is in panic mode, but I can fix this. We can fix this. I love you." That wasn't a lie. I deleted the messages and blocked his number. The following days passed in a blur of activity. Raj confirmed that Jason had copied numerous confidential files and accessed our system over 30 times from Walker Investment Group offices. Stephanie filed the cease and desist letters. Lisa and I met with our board to brief them on the situation. Just when I thought things might be stabilizing, Amber called. "Don't panic," she began, which immediately made me panic. "But there are rumors circulating about SecureShare's financial stability." "What? From who?" "Industry circles. Suggestions that your recent product development has hit major snags. That the valuation is inflated. That you're desperately seeking bailout investment." The Walker family's counterattack had begun. By the week's end, I'd heard from 3 concerned clients and a reporter asking for comment on rumors of SecureShare's technical challenges. Our stock price dipped slightly as the whispers spread through Seattle's tight-knit tech community. I was working late in my office, having finally returned to our headquarters, when my security team alerted me to a visitor, Patricia Walker, requesting to see me. Against my better judgment, I agreed to the meeting. Patricia entered my office with the confident stride of someone accustomed to getting her way, immaculately dressed in what I now recognized as a power outfit for intimidation. "Morgan," she said, taking a seat without waiting for an invitation. "This has gone far enough." "I agree," I replied coolly. "Your family's spreading of false information about my company needs to stop immediately." She waved a dismissive hand. "Business is business. I'm here to reason with you, woman to woman." "About what, exactly?" "You need to understand our position." For the first time, I detected a hint of desperation beneath her polished exterior. "The Walker legacy spans generations. Everything we've done has been to preserve it." "Including manipulating me? Corporate espionage? Having Jason cheat on me while pretending to love me?" Patricia flinched slightly at the last one. Jason's personal choices were his own. "But yes, we identified your company as a potential solution to certain financial challenges." So Richie was telling the truth. "You're broke." "Not broke," she corrected with irritation. "The family has significant assets. But cash flow issues, yes. The pandemic affected our real estate holdings. Some investments underperformed. And you thought my company would be your bailout. We thought an alliance would benefit everyone." She leaned forward. "It still could, Morgan. Jason made mistakes, but the strategic partnership makes sense. Sign a modified agreement. Join forces with a family that can open doors for you." I studied her, this woman who had helped orchestrate my heartbreak, now sitting in my office asking for my help. "You still don't get it, do you? I built SecureShare from nothing. I don't need your doors opened for me. I create my own opportunities." "Don't be naive," she snapped, mask slipping. "One successful company doesn't make you untouchable. Seattle remembers loyalty and betrayal." "Is that a threat?" "It's reality. The rumors about your company? They can get worse. Much worse." I stood up, signaling the end of our meeting. "Mrs. Walker, I suggest you leave before I call security. And tell your family that if the rumors don't stop immediately, I'll have no choice but to publicly explain their origins, including the unauthorized access of our systems and the true state of Walker family finances." After she left, I sat in the growing darkness of my office, a strange calm settling over me. I had faced the architect of my heartbreak and stood my ground. Something was shifting inside me, pain crystallizing into purpose. The next day, my phone rang with yet another unknown number. Morgan Davis. Morgan, it's Jason. Please don't hang up. I should have ended the call immediately, but something in his voice, a rawness I hadn't heard before, made me pause. I'm at the Starbucks across from your office, he continued quickly. Just give me 10 minutes. Please. After everything, don't I deserve that much? You deserve nothing from me, I replied, but found myself agreeing nevertheless. 10 minutes. That's it. He was waiting at a corner table, looking disheveled in a way I'd never seen before, unshaven, hair uncombed, designer clothes wrinkled. For a moment, seeing him brought back a wave of what we'd had, or what I thought we'd had, before I steeled myself against it. Thank you for coming, he said as I sat down. I've been trying to reach you. I blocked your number. I figured. He stared into his untouched coffee. I need you to know that what we had became real for me. The plan may have started as strategic. But I fell in love with you, Morgan. Genuinely. While maintaining a relationship with your ex. He flinched. Alexis was complicated. A connection to my old life. A mistake. A 2-year mistake that overlapped our entire relationship. I can't defend that. He looked up, eyes red-rimmed. But I can tell you that my family is falling apart. My father isn't speaking to my mother. Richie's drinking worse than ever. The banks are calling in loans. And this concerns me how? It doesn't. He ran a hand through his unkempt hair. I've lost everything that matters. You. My family's respect. My self-respect. Despite everything, I felt an unwanted pang of empathy. Jason, whatever you're going through, you brought it on yourself. I know. But it's not too late to salvage something. For both of us. He leaned forward earnestly. We could still make this work. A clean slate. A fair agreement that protects your company but allows some partnership. My family is desperate, but I can convince them to be reasonable. I studied him, trying to see the man I thought I'd loved. You still don't understand. There is no partnership to discuss. No agreement to negotiate. You and your family tried to take what I built through deception and manipulation. We made mistakes. Those weren't mistakes. They were choices. Deliberate, calculated choices. I stood up, having heard enough. Goodbye, Jason. As I walked away, he called after me, Morgan, please. I really do love you. I didn't look back. The Fairmont Olympic Hotel had become my sanctuary over the past week, but I knew I couldn't hide forever. Standing at the window of my suite, watching Seattle move beneath a blanket of characteristic drizzle, I made a decision. It was time to reclaim my life. I called a real estate agent and arranged to view apartments that afternoon. My condo, once my proud first major purchase, was now tainted with memories I couldn't bear to live among. By evening, I had signed a lease on a sleek loft in Belltown, paid 3 months in advance, and arranged for movers to pack my essential belongings from the condo. You're moving fast, Amber commented when I told her over dinner at the hotel restaurant. That's good. Clean break. I need to take control back, I explained, pushing my barely touched salmon around the plate. Starting with where I live. Have you heard anything more from the Walker Circus? Radio silence since I walked out on Jason yesterday. I took a sip of wine. But the rumors about Secure Share are still circulating. Lisa had to reassure 2 more clients today. Stephanie thinks we have grounds for a defamation suit if we can prove the Walkers are the source. Proving it is the problem. I set down my fork, appetite gone. I don't want a legal battle, Amber. I want this to be over so I can focus on my company. Amber studied me with concern. You've lost weight. Are you sleeping at all? The truth was, I wasn't. Every night brought the same cycle: exhaustion, followed by racing thoughts, followed by dreams of Jason where he morphed from the man I thought I loved into a calculating stranger. "I'll sleep when this is resolved," I deflected. "The company has to come first right now. The company needs its CEO healthy." Amber's voice softened. "It's okay to not be okay, Morgan. What you're going through, it's trauma. Betrayal at this level affects people." Before I could respond, my phone rang with SecureShare's office number. "Morgan Davis." "Ms. Davis, this is Dennis at reception. I'm sorry to bother you after hours, but there's a Mr. Richard Walker Jr. here. He seems intoxicated. He's insisting on seeing you and refuses to leave." I closed my eyes briefly. "Call security to escort him out, Dennis." "I'm not in the building." "Yes, ma'am." After hanging up, I explained the situation to Amber, who immediately shifted into crisis management mode. "We should go there," she insisted. "If Richie's causing a scene, it could draw attention we don't need." 20 minutes later, our Uber pulled up to SecureShare's downtown headquarters. In the lobby, an obviously intoxicated Richie was arguing loudly with two security guards while my flustered receptionist looked on. "This is private property. You're trespassing." Richie slurred, wobbling slightly. "Do you know who I am?" "Mr. Walker," I called, approaching cautiously. "What are you doing here?" He turned, nearly losing his balance. "Morgan Davis. The woman of the hour. The one who's destroying my family." "Your family tried to steal my company," I replied calmly. "And you're making a scene in my lobby. Either tell me what you want or leave." Something in my tone must have cut through his alcohol haze. He straightened, attempting dignity. "I came to negotiate. One-on-one. No lawyers. No Jason. No mother." I glanced at Amber, who shrugged slightly. 5 minutes, I conceded. In the conference room. With Amber present. Once seated in the glass-walled conference room, Richie seemed to deflate, the bluster leaving him like air from a punctured balloon. "They're going to lose everything," he said without preamble. "The house. The investment firm. All of it." "I'm sorry to hear that," I replied, meaning it despite everything. "But that's not my problem. You could make it your problem. For the right price." He leaned forward, bloodshot eyes suddenly calculating. "Jason doesn't know I'm here. Neither do my parents. But I know things they don't think I know." "What kind of things?" "Emails. Conversations. Plans." He tapped his temple. "I'm the family screw-up, so they talk freely around me. But I pay attention." Amber placed a warning hand on my arm. "Mr. Walker, are you attempting to blackmail Morgan?" "Blackmail? No." He looked offended. "I'm offering information. For compensation." "What information could you possibly have that would interest me?" I asked. "Their entire plan. From the beginning. How they identified your company. The strategy to use Jason. The prenup trap. Everything." He fumbled in his jacket, pulling out a flash drive. "It's all here. Every email. Every meeting note. Recorded conversations I wasn't supposed to hear." I stared at the small device. "Why would you betray your family this way?" Richie's laugh was bitter. "Because they've controlled me my entire life. The family legacy. The Walker name. Do you know what it's like growing up with that pressure? I was never good enough. Never strategic enough. Always the disappointment." His eyes hardened. "Now they're about to lose everything, and suddenly they need me to step up for the family. Well, I'm stepping up for myself for once." "How much?" Amber asked bluntly. $2 million. Cash. "That's extortion," I pointed out. "That's business," he countered. "Seattle style, apparently." I studied him, this broken, angry man willing to sell out his family for revenge and money. Was I any better if I took his offer? I need to think about it, I said finally. Don't think too long. He stood unsteadily. Other people might be interested in what I know. The Seattle Times. Your competitors. After security escorted him out, Amber turned to me. You're not seriously considering this? I don't know, I admitted. If he really has evidence of their entire scheme. Obtained illegally, possibly inadmissible in court, from a vindictive drunk with obvious motives. She shook her head. It's a trap, Morgan. Maybe. But what if it's not? The next morning brought a new crisis. 3 calls came within minutes of each other, my board chairman, my PR director, and David, my CMO. All with the same message: someone was calling our major clients, claiming to have insider information that SecureShare was on the verge of a security breach that would compromise customer data. It's coordinated, David explained when we convened an emergency meeting. They're targeting our top 20 clients simultaneously. The walkers are getting desperate, Lisa observed. And dangerous, Raj added. They're attacking the core of our business model, trust. I felt something harden inside me. This wasn't just about me anymore, or even about my company in the abstract. This was about my 78 employees, our clients who depended on our security, and everything we'd built together. Enough, I said quietly, then with more force, enough. This ends now. The team looked at me expectantly. Stephanie, can you stay behind? The rest of you, implement our crisis communication plan. Call every client personally. Reassure them. Show them our latest security audits if necessary. When the room cleared, I turned to Stephanie. How quickly can you put together a meeting with the entire Walker family? She raised an eyebrow. You want to walk into the lion's den? I want to end this. Today. 2 hours later, I sat in my office with a notepad, mapping out my strategy. The walkers had attacked me personally and professionally. They had manipulated, lied, and now were trying to destroy what I'd built. But they had miscalculated badly by underestimating both me and the strength of SecureShare's foundation. My phone rang. Stephanie. It's arranged. The Walker family will meet with us at their attorney's office at 4 o'clock. All of them? Patricia, Richard Sr., Jason, and Richie. Plus Blackwell, of course. Perfect. I checked my watch, 2 hours to prepare. Morgan, Stephanie's voice turned cautious. Are you sure about this? These people have shown they're willing to go to extreme lengths. So am I replied. They started this. I'm going to finish it. I spent the next hour with Raj, reviewing all the evidence we had gathered of the Walkers' corporate espionage. Another 30 minutes with Lisa, examining the financial impact of their rumor campaign. By the time Stephanie arrived to accompany me to the meeting, I felt centered in a way I hadn't since discovering Jason's betrayal. Ready? She asked as our car pulled up to the gleaming downtown office building that housed Blackwell's law firm. I took a deep breath. Ready. Theodore Blackwell's corner office offered a panoramic view of Elliott Bay, tastefully decorated in leather and mahogany to project old money stability. The Walkers were already seated when we arrived, Patricia and Richard Sr. On one side of the conference table, Jason and a visibly hungover Richie on the other. Blackwell stood at the head of the table like a conductor preparing to direct an orchestra. Ms. Davis, Ms. Chen, thank you for coming, he greeted us smoothly. I believe you know everyone present. Unfortunately, yes, I replied, taking a seat with Stephanie beside me. Let's not waste time with pleasantries. We all know why we're here. Indeed. Blackwell nodded. The Walker family has expressed a desire to resolve the misunderstandings that have arisen. Misunderstandings? I echoed incredulously. Is that what you call corporate espionage, unauthorized access of proprietary systems, and a coordinated attack on my company's reputation? Now see here, Richard Sr. began, but Patricia placed a restraining hand on his arm. We may have been overzealous in our approach, she said carefully. But our intention was always to create a mutually beneficial partnership. By lying to me for 18 months? By having your son pretend to love me while feeding you information about my company? Jason flinched but remained silent, staring at the table. Business is often complicated, Patricia continued. Perhaps we can focus on moving forward productively rather than dwelling on past missteps. I opened my laptop. Let me show you what moving forward productively looks like. I turned the screen toward them, displaying a PowerPoint with one simple slide, a list of every unauthorized system access from Walker Investment Group, every leaked document, every false rumor we had traced back to them, with dates and timestamps. This is what I have documented. There's more. I clicked to the next slide, screenshots of the emails Raj had recovered showing their plans to approach venture capital firms. This constitutes corporate espionage. Wire fraud. Potentially violation of SEC regulations since we're a publicly traded company. The color drained from Richard Sr.'s face. You're bluffing. Am I? I clicked again, revealing a draft press release. This goes to every major tech publication tomorrow morning unless we reach an agreement today. You wouldn't dare, Patricia hissed. It would destroy Jason's reputation too. You still care for him, I can see it. I met Jason's eyes for the first time since entering the room. I cared for someone who didn't exist. Morgan, please, he finally spoke, voice cracking. We can work this out. That's exactly what I'm proposing, I replied calmly. Here are my terms. First, you will sign legally binding agreements to cease all communication about SecureShare to anyone, clients, investors, press. Second, you will acknowledge in writing that you accessed our systems without authorization and provide a full accounting of every document viewed or copied. Third, you will issue formal apologies to me and to SecureShare's board of directors. And if we refuse? Blackwell asked. Then I file criminal charges tomorrow morning. The evidence goes to the FBI's Cybercrime Division, the SEC, and every technology reporter in my contact list. You're forgetting something, Patricia said, desperation edging into her voice. Seattle is a small community. The Walker name still means something. We have friends in places you can't imagine. So do I countered. And unlike yours, my reputation is built on actual achievements, not inherited status. Richie suddenly started laughing, a harsh, alcoholic bark that drew everyone's attention. She's got you cornered, Mother. Just like I told you she would. The perfect Morgan Davis. Always 3 steps ahead. Richard Jr., be quiet, Patricia snapped. Why? Because I'm embarrassing you? Too late for that. He turned to me. Did you think about my offer? What offer? Jason demanded. Nothing, Richie and I said simultaneously. An uncomfortable silence fell over the room. I could see the calculations happening behind each pair of Walker eyes, weighing options, measuring risks, considering the cost of fighting versus surrendering. We need time to consider your terms, Blackwell finally said. You have until 9 a.m. tomorrow, I replied, standing. After that, the press release goes out. As Stephanie and I gathered our things to leave, Jason stood abruptly. Morgan, can I speak to you? Alone. Just for a minute. I hesitated, then nodded. 1 minute. We stepped into an adjoining conference room, the glass walls offering privacy without isolation. Up close, I could see the toll the past weeks had taken on him, the shadows under his eyes, the strain around his mouth. I'm sorry, he said simply. For everything. What started as a family strategy became the biggest mistake of my life. Which part? Targeting my company? Pretending to love me? Or cheating on me the entire time? He flinched. I deserve that. But what I said yesterday was true. Somewhere along the way, it became real for me. I did fall in love with you. But not enough to stop lying. Not enough to choose me over your family's scheme. I was weak, he admitted. Caught between what I wanted and what was expected of me. I know it's too late, but I need you to know that what we had, at least some of it, was real. I studied him, searching for the man I thought I'd known. It doesn't matter anymore, Jason. Maybe you did develop feelings. Maybe you didn't. I'll never know what was real and what was strategy. That's what your family took from me, not just my trust, but my memories. His eyes filled with tears. I never meant to hurt you. But you did. And now you have to live with the consequences. I moved toward the door. Tell your family to take the deal, Jason. It's the best offer they're going to get. As I walked away, I felt something release inside me. Not forgiveness, exactly, but the first step toward liberation from the pain that had consumed me for weeks. They've accepted our terms, Stephanie announced, striding into my office the next morning. Blackwell just sent over signed documents. They're caving on all fronts. I looked up from my computer, where I'd been reviewing our latest security protocols. All of them? Even Patricia? Especially Patricia, from what I gather. Blackwell hinted that your evidence was persuasive. Stephanie dropped into the chair across from my desk. You know this isn't over, right? They're retreating, not surrendering. I know. I leaned back, allowing myself a small smile of satisfaction. But it buys us time. The past 24 hours had been a whirlwind of activity. After leaving the Walkers, I'd convened an emergency session with my executive team to brief them on the confrontation and prepare for either outcome, capitulation or escalation. Now that the Walkers had chosen the former, we could move to the next phase of my plan. Have you heard from Richie again? Stephanie asked. No, and I don't expect to. His offer was a desperate play for cash, not a genuine alliance. I hadn't told anyone, not even Amber, about the decision I'd made regarding Richie's offer. Some choices needed to remain private, at least for now. The rest of the day passed in a blur of meetings and calls as we implemented our damage control strategy. By evening, I was exhausted but energized by a sense of purpose I hadn't felt since before the engagement. When I returned to my new loft, I actually slept, deeply and dreamlessly, for the first time in weeks. The following morning, Amber called with unexpected news. You're not going to believe this, she began without preamble. Jason just resigned from Walker Investment Group. What? How do you know? My cousin works in their HR department. It's being kept quiet, but he cleaned out his office last night. Word is he had a massive fight with his parents. I absorbed this information, unsure how I felt about it. Any idea where he's going? None. But that's not all. Apparently, the Walkers are quietly approaching potential buyers for their Lake Washington property. The pieces were falling into place. The Walkers' financial situation was even more precarious than I'd realized if they were selling their ancestral home. Over the next week, I focused entirely on stabilizing SecureShare. We launched an aggressive client retention campaign, accelerated our latest security feature release, and I personally called our top 30 clients to reassure them. Slowly, the rumor damage began to reverse. 10 days after the confrontation at Blackwell's office, I received an unexpected email from an address I didn't recognize, jw.new.start@gmail.com. The subject line read simply, "For your information." Inside was a brief message, "I thought you should know what's really happening. I'm not asking for forgiveness. Just trying to make one thing right. J." Attached was a forwarded email chain between Patricia Walker and Theodore Blackwell, dated just after our meeting. In it, Patricia laid out a new strategy. While we comply with her demands publicly, we'll work behind the scenes to undermine confidence in SecureShare through channels that can't be traced back to us. Several of Richard's banking connections have agreed to quietly question the company's stability when appropriate opportunities arise. I forwarded the email to Stephanie and Raj immediately, adding, "Verify authenticity. If real, we need a new strategy." Raj called back within the hour. "It's real. The email headers check out. They're planning to attack through banking channels, subtle suggestions to investors, hints to financial analysts. Can we trace it definitively to them? Not easily. That's the clever part. They're using relationship capital, conversations over golf, whispers at charity events. Nothing documented. I thought for a moment. Then we need to change the battlefield. The plan came together over the next 48 hours. If the Walkers wanted to fight through financial channels, we would make those channels irrelevant. I called a board meeting and presented a bold proposal: an accelerated international expansion combined with a strategic pivot that would make SecureShare less vulnerable to local banking gossip. This is aggressive, our board chair commented after my presentation. The timeline alone. We have the capital, I countered. We have the technology ready. All we're doing is compressing our 5-year plan into 18 months. After intense discussion, the board approved the plan. We would open offices in London, Singapore, and Toronto within 6 months, diversifying our client base and banking relationships beyond Seattle's tight-knit financial community. As we implemented the expansion strategy, I also quietly worked on a more personal counterattack. If Patricia Walker wanted to use untraceable methods, I could play that game too. I arranged a seemingly casual lunch with Meredith Chen, technology editor at the Seattle Business Journal and an old friend from college. Over salads at her favorite restaurant, our conversation naturally turned to local business gossip. Heard anything interesting about the Walkers lately? I asked innocently. I noticed they've gone quiet at the usual charity events. Meredith raised an eyebrow. Funny you should ask. There are whispers they're facing liquidity issues. Nothing concrete, but when a family like that suddenly lists their estate with a private broker. Really? I hadn't heard. It's not public knowledge yet. But real estate transactions that size don't stay secret for long. She studied me curiously. Any particular reason you're asking about them? Besides the obvious broken engagement. Just curious, I shrugged. Seattle business circles are small. The conversation moved on, but I knew Meredith well enough to recognize when her journalistic instincts were piqued. Sure enough, 2 weeks later, the Business Journal published a seemingly innocuous article about changing real estate trends among Seattle's elite families, with the Walkers featured prominently. While my professional counterattack proceeded, I was surprised to receive another email from Jason's new address. Can we meet? No agenda, no manipulation. Just talk. You can name the place, time, bring whoever you want for security. After considerable deliberation, I agreed to meet him at a public coffee shop near my office, with Amber stationed nearby as backup. When I arrived, Jason was already waiting, looking dramatically different from the polished financier I'd known. His designer clothes had been replaced by jeans and a simple button-down, his usually perfect hair slightly longer and less styled. Thank you for coming, he said as I sat down. I wasn't sure you would. I almost didn't, I admitted. Why am I here, Jason? I wanted to tell you in person that I've left the family business. Permanently. I'm starting over. So I heard. Why? He looked down at his untouched coffee. After everything fell apart, I had to face some hard truths about myself. About who I've been and who I've been pretending to be. I couldn't do it anymore, play the dutiful Walker son, sacrifice my integrity for family expectations. That's quite a revelation after 34 years. Better late than never? He attempted a weak smile. I know you have no reason to believe anything I say. The email I sent, that was a small attempt to make something right. There will be more attacks coming. My mother is determined. I appreciate the warning, I said carefully. But we're prepared. I'm sure you are. There was genuine admiration in his voice. You were always 3 steps ahead of everyone else. Not everyone, I pointed out. I didn't see you coming. The pain that flashed across his face seemed real. For what it's worth, and I know it's worth very little, what I said about developing real feelings was true. Somewhere along the way, the act became not an act. But not real enough to stop lying to me. No, he admitted. Not then. I wasn't strong enough to stand up to my family. To be the person you deserved. I studied him, searching for signs of the calculation I'd come to expect. Finding none, I asked the question that had haunted me, was any of it real, Jason? Any moment? Any conversation? Or was it all strategy from the first hello? He met my eyes directly. The first 6 months were strategic. I won't lie about that. But after that, after I saw how you worked with your team, how you built something meaningful instead of just inheriting it, something changed. The way you approached problems, your integrity, your vision. I fell in love with the real you while pretending to be someone I wasn't. The irony wasn't lost on me. What are you doing now? Where will you go? I'm starting a small consulting practice. Nothing fancy. Using what I know about finance to help startups avoid predatory investors. He gave a self-deprecating laugh. Trying to balance the karma scales a bit. And your family? They've disowned me, essentially. My trust fund's been frozen. I'm not welcome at family functions. He shrugged. It's liberating, in a way. For the first time, I'm making choices based on what I believe, not what's expected. I felt an unwanted twinge of sympathy but pushed it aside. I wish you luck with your new start, Jason. Genuinely. But I can't be part of it. I know. I'm not asking for that. He slid a folder across the table. This is everything I know about my family's plans regarding secure share. Banking contacts, planned rumors, potential leveraged buyout strategies. Use it however you see fit. I hesitated before taking it. Why are you doing this? Because it's right. And because I need to know that at least once in my life, I chose integrity over family loyalty. He stood to leave. Goodbye, Morgan. Build something amazing. As he walked away, I realized he hadn't asked for forgiveness or reconciliation. Perhaps that was the most honest thing he'd ever done. The folder contained exactly what he'd promised, detailed information about the Walker family's financial connections and planned attacks on secure share. Combined with what I already knew, it gave me everything I needed for the final confrontation. Over the next week, I worked with Stephanie to compile all our evidence into an irrefutable case. Raj traced every unauthorized system access, documenting exactly which confidential files had been viewed or copied. Lisa calculated the financial impact of the Walker family's rumor campaign. When we were ready, I made one more call. To Theodore Blackwell. Ms. Davis, he answered smoothly. What can I do for you? You can arrange a meeting with Patricia and Richard Walker. Tomorrow. At my office. May I ask what this concerns? They already know. Tell them it's their last opportunity to resolve this situation privately. The next day, Patricia and Richard Sr. arrived at Secure Share's headquarters looking considerably less confident than at our previous meeting. Blackwell accompanied them, along with another attorney I didn't recognize. I met them in our main conference room, with Stephanie beside me and a digital recorder openly placed on the table. Thank you for coming, I began formally. I'll be direct. Despite our previous agreement, your attempts to undermine Secure Share have continued through banking channels and private investor conversations. That's a serious allegation, Blackwell interjected. Do you have evidence? I opened a folder and slid several documents across the table. Detailed records of conversations between Richard Walker and 3 different investment bank executives, questioning Secure Share's stability. Emails from Patricia to board members at Seattle First National suggesting our security protocols are compromised. The color drained from Patricia's face. How did you? It doesn't matter how I know. What matters is that I do know. And I have documentation. Richard Sr. leaned forward. What do you want? I want this to end. Permanently. I handed Stephanie a nod, and she distributed copies of a document to everyone present. This is a comprehensive settlement agreement. You will cease all actions against SecureShare, directly or indirectly. You will sign non-disclosure agreements preventing you from discussing our company in any context. In return, I will not pursue criminal charges for corporate espionage or file civil suits for defamation and tortious interference. This is extortion, Patricia hissed. No, this is mercy, I corrected her. I'm giving you one final opportunity to walk away intact. And if we refuse? Richard Sr. asked. I pressed a button on my laptop, and a draft article appeared on the screen mounted on the wall, a detailed exposé of the Walker family's financial troubles, failed investment strategies, and desperate attempt to seize control of SecureShare through deception. This has been fact-checked by 3 independent journalists. It's scheduled to run in the Seattle Times business section on Sunday. Unless we reach an agreement today. The Walkers exchanged glances with Blackwell, who gave an almost imperceptible nod. You've won, Ms. Davis, Richard Sr. said finally. We'll sign. As they signed the documents under Stephanie's watchful eye, Patricia fixed me with a cold stare. You've made powerful enemies. No, I replied calmly. I've neutralized weak opponents who mistook inherited status for actual power. After they left, Stephanie turned to me with an impressed smile. That was masterful. Where did you get that information about their banking conversations? I thought about Jason's folder, about Richie's flash drive that I'd ultimately decided not to purchase, about the quiet network of allies I'd built who respected what I'd created with SecureShare. Let's just say I learned from the best, I replied. When people show you who they really are, believe them, and prepare accordingly. 6 months later, I stood at the window of our new London office, watching rain patter against the glass, a familiar reminder of Seattle despite being thousands of miles away. Behind me, our UK team was settling into the freshly furnished space, the excited hum of voices creating a soundtrack of growth and renewal. Ms. Davis? My new British assistant appeared at my elbow. Your video conference with Singapore begins in 5 minutes. Thank you, Emma. I'll be right there. The past half-year had transformed SecureShare in ways I couldn't have imagined during those dark days after Jason's betrayal. Our accelerated international expansion had exceeded even my optimistic projections, with our London and Singapore offices already profitable and Toronto on track to break even by quarter's end. Our latest security product launch had garnered industry awards and brought in major new clients across 3 continents. Most significantly, our valuation had jumped to $45 million, a 55% increase in just 6 months. As I made my way to the conference room, I scrolled through emails on my phone, pausing at a news alert from the Seattle Business Journal. Walker Estate sold to tech billionaire for undisclosed sum. Attached was a photograph of the Georgian mansion being emptied of furniture, Patricia Walker visible in the background, face tight with suppressed emotion. I felt no pleasure at their downfall, only a quiet vindication that justice sometimes finds its way without help. The video call with our Singapore team went smoothly, focusing on our expansion into emerging Asian markets. Afterward, I had lunch with our UK development team, listening to their ideas for localizing our security protocols for European privacy regulations. By the time I returned to my temporary flat that evening, I was exhausted but fulfilled in a way that reminded me of SecureShare's early days. The pure satisfaction of building something valuable. My phone chimed with a text from Amber. Saw the news about the Walkers. You okay? I'm good, I replied truthfully. Actually better than good. It had taken months of therapy to process the emotional aftermath of Jason's betrayal. The therapist, a no-nonsense British woman named Dr. Harper, had helped me separate grief from growth, teaching me to view the experience not just as trauma but as valuable data about my own strengths and blind spots. You built a security company because you value protection, she'd observed during one particularly insightful session. The irony is that you left your own emotional security system vulnerable to intrusion. So what's the solution? I'd asked. Never trust anyone again? No. The solution is to apply the same rigorous protocols to your personal relationships that you do to your business systems. Trust, but verify. Monitor for unusual patterns. And most importantly, install emotional firewalls that protect your core self, even when you